Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm just kind of getting myself set up here. Debbie's going to do an intro. So
Hey,
I'm just going to get
everybody.
ready.
Hi, Carrie. Hi, Blaze. Blaze, hi. Damn, it's been too long. I suffer when I don't get to ramble and see you guys live. Who else is here? Hi, Lisa. Sorry we're a little bit late. I'm in Ruralville, and I had to bark at Kim for a few minutes before we got live to get our shit together. So today we are talking about, there's so many, there's never one way to care for any one person or condition. Oh, I didn't bring my Dercum's mug today. I always have a mug of coffee, but I have a Dercum's disease mug. You can get it through Carmen's Etsy store. But today we talk so much in bits and pieces, and the group is getting bigger, and sometimes you have questions, and like we had one yesterday. I think I should shut it off because there's 100 comments and it's turned into 7 other conversations. So what I'm liking about these Dercum's disease is I'm finding, for those of you that have Dercum's disease, I was talking with Kim before Cameron, and I'm having one of those months where I can so relate to your guys' situation, because I have, there's that big bubble of lymphedema. Then there's lipedema. Then there's Dercum's disease, and then I can't even make it small enough. And then there's like maid lungs. And a lot of times I feel within our smaller community, please don't take offense, lipedema is the rock star. It gets the attention, it gets the awareness. But so many of you have similar symptoms. Some of you have both. Some of you have other things like diabetes and TB, or, it's not always just a fat disorder thing. And I think some of the problem with the diagnosis out there that many of you in the Dercum's community are running into is, well, you have something else, let's say diabetes, and Dercum's, it's considered less because they think it's to do with something else, or whereas if you go in with just true Dercum's and it's nothing else is there that they can blame it on. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's struggling, because I've been trying to explain what a vibration machine is to these same people for 15 years. And, even though I give so much of my time to educate, I'm having one of those weeks where I feel like telling all these doctors, just don't talk about it at all anymore, because it takes me more time to fix the poor direction that you offer than just teaching them my way in the first place. And the reason my big tangent is coming back here is, this is you guys, this is the Dercum's, this is those ultra rarer than the lipedema. And I don't think just 200,000 people out there have it. I think there's a lot more people that have Dercum's, or at least painful lipomas. I'm going to put it out there, fat disorders. I've got a few people not happy with me, and I've had several messages privately this week, since yesterday. Yes, I do refer to it as a fat disorder. That may not be the proper medical term, but if I'm like many of these folks with Dercum's or maid lungs or the rare stuff, I don't know what it's called yet. I don't know it's a lipoma. I don't know it's lipedema. I just know that my fat hurts, or I'm fat, or, my doctor tells me I'm fat. So we get this terminology in our head, and when we're searching on the internet, that's how we look for it, because that's what everybody's telling us. So I'm sorry if I've offended the medical community. For those of you, I am not saying you are fat. And unfortunately, when you go into doctors, you get that wall in your face very commonly, and it's your fault, and you just got to live on carrots for the rest of your life. By the way, raw carrots are completely indigestible. I went to a food course this week. Man, is my mind blown. I got to get into fermentation. But food is a very, very critical piece for your community. Self-care is a very important piece, and how it comes back to Dercum's, this obtuse condition that's nobody's heard of. Even the doctors, will come to me and say, well, what's a good program for Dercum's disease? Well, let's back up, and how about we identify that it exists first, and then maybe people out there will start doing research and develop protocols to help you folks. So unfortunately, I am winging it a lot. There is no existence of some of the conditions in this group, but the symptoms I have seen and managed for years. So whether it's lipedema, Dercum's, you just have painful lumps that you know, what I'm finding with the lymphoma thing, and I guess the reason I'm so passionate for the vibration piece, machines for sure, but you have these things surgically removed, which isn't fun. And a lot of politics, getting to the point where you can even talk them into doing the surgery, and then they grow back. I would be so pissed off. I'd be so pissed off. It's kind of like my ass over the years, right? I eat, it got bigger. I stopped eating, it got, you know. So to me, all the more reason we need to be seeking alternatives. Thank you. Yes, they do grow back. And I don't need some study or some doctor to give me numbers. I now have a lot of people in my group, and you just see commonalities time and time. You know, I did it, but it grew back. And I mean, sometimes you have to do what you have to do with the pain so severe, or maybe you've got something that's functioning, or it's in a joint where, you know, it's debilitating. I can't talk. I'm so pissed off today. It's debilitating and you know, holding back your ability to walk and pick up your grandkids. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I absolutely understand that. But there's also surgeons out there that are willing to take anyone as a patient. So please be absolutely certain, if you're not going to look at some of these self-care tools that Kim and I are talking about, and you are in a surgery situation, there are lots of recovery options, but please make sure that the doctor you're going, just make sure you know who you're dealing with and they know what they're dealing with. That's my 2-cent warning. And they'll probably call it a fat disorder, so please don't take it personally. But again, I sort of kind of go on a loop on that, but it's my big thing, and I don't have these conditions, as you know, but I've seen so much success with people like Kim. Some of my clients that I didn't even know at the time had these conditions, and consistent regular use is the key. There's lots of you breaking up these darn lumps and bumps with massage guns, and you know what, it hurts like hell, but so does getting it cut out and having it grow back. And you know, there's sometimes I feel like, you know, I don't know what some of you did in a former life, but you don't deserve the pain that you're going through, and all I can do is, you know, give you a place to vent, and you know, sometimes it works out, but I'm not guaranteeing it's going to be uncomfortable as you progress down this path. And part of the big piece too that Kim will talk about today, some of the stuff she's working with, Kim was just very willing. When we met, we connected very early after my first FDRS in Dallas that I went to, and had all these light bulbs go off. Because I was in Canada, she found out, or we kind of sought each other out very quickly. And you know, with my tools, I need the odd subject to go through a few things to, you know, I have ideas, but being that I don't have the conditions, sometimes it's hard for me to apply long-term to see. And you know, some of the things we tried have worked out fabulously. We're going to talk about those today. Some of the things were absolutely horrible. You know, and this is the part of where you guys are experimenting now. The last thing I want these tools to be is another disappointment, but there's always something that works. It just sometimes takes, you know, a little bit of experimenting with the tool, with, you know, the settings. And sometimes, like anything else, you guys know, things change. So what's been working up until now, you know, sometimes you need to mix things up. And it's just like exercise. You know, if you're just doing the same thing all the time, sometimes you're just maintaining. And if you're in a place where things are good, that's great. But if you're in a place where you're trying to progress and, you know, change things, you may need to change what you're doing in your self-care and your exercise too. So all of the things that Kim is working with are from Life Pro. Why Life Pro? You know, I do feel like I sound like a sales rep for them some days, but at the end of the day, for a lot of the tools that I've played with in the medical world, they're just financially unattainable. You know, I wish we could all have doctors that A, gave us a diagnosis, and B, we had an insurance company that just ticked the box and sent it to you. But I know that's the struggle where many of you don't pursue these tools because the politics get in the way. So more of you are using consumer grade, home grade technologies than medical devices. So that's my wheelhouse. You know, it's not about what I think is best in the long run. Sometimes it's about using what you have to the most efficiency. So that, you know, even in my cerebral palsy group, a lot of these families have a diagnosis and they've got funding, but the medical companies aren't paying for a $15,000 vibration machine. And if they are, the hoops and the balances, like I had a company in the UK last week Got them 2 years. I've been working with this family. We finally get them the $10,000 plate, and the insurance company wanted to talk to the physio, and the physio says, well, that's great, but I think we want the tilt table too. The tilt table is something I attach to a vibration machine that tilts a child that can't stand up. It's an extra 30 grand. I ain't got that kind of time. And so this poor family raised half the money, and now they can't even, because now the physio said they need to spend another 30 grand. Pissed me right off. So guess what they bought? $200 Life Pro. You know, at the end of the day, the kid it's about balance. It's something to do. You know, it fixes mom's back. So many of you have had successes. If I'm looking close, it looks like Kim is shaking as we speak. So we're going to focus primarily on the vibration plate. Kim, that's the one thing that I started with her first, and she's progressed the furthest with it. But because of her willingness and her amazing progress, we've added a couple of other tools today, or to date. Some of them she's going to talk about, not show, because it's like trying to get your compressions on with some of these things. It's a call in itself. But I'm going to have her talk about, you know, some of the improvements she has seen. And, you know, as I say, this isn't necessarily cookie cutter for everyone, but it's just to give you some ideas. Obviously, the way that Kim does it may not fit for everyone, but there's always a way to modify for where you're at. And maybe you're just having a bad day, you know, so there's always the ability to switch gears. So I'm going to let Kim take over on the rambling now. And I'm going to say good morning, good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon everywhere now. So Kim, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the lovely intro. And it is so true that, you know, what worked for me might not work for you. But in general, like, I've been in pain, a little bit of history here. I've been in pain since I was about 4 to 5 years old. I may have had fibromyalgia all my life, or I may have had Dercums all my life. But because I'm almost 60 now, Dr. Herbst feels that I possibly could have had Dercums all my life and just misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia. But absolutely, I've been in pain since I was about 4 to 5 years old. And it has definitely progressed as I've aged. And yeah, progression is real, but management is also real. So what I want to tell everybody, that we don't all start in the same place, and we all can't end up in the same place, but we can all work together just to try and help each other, hold each other up, and tell each other what we do for our way through. Because in general, that's what it is for us all. We have an incurable disease. We have a progressive disease that's very painful. So every single day we have to get through it, right? So the things that I do to get through it, I'm just going to tell you my routine. And yes, Debbie has like literally changed my life in the realm of movement, strength, balance with these Life Pro products. But I have to agree, my vibration plate is the best thing that I've ever had to help me manage my pain, my stiffness, my soreness, and just plain relief. So what happens in the morning is I prepare coffee. I am on a ketogenic diet called the bio diet, which we will get into on a whole session all by itself, because I believe that it is the path for many, that many need to change. What we put on the end of our fork dictates a lot of the inflammation, the pain, swelling, fluid. Food sensitivities are a real thing. So that's a whole other session we're going to do together on Dercum's Diary next time. We're going to talk about bio diet and how it's changed my life. For right now, I just want to let you know that I get up in the morning. It all depends how I feel in the morning, how quickly I get onto things. But the sooner I get on this vibration plate, the better I do in the day. Now I come here with my coffee. I have a very comfy chair because I have lipomas on my bum, my groin, my back of my legs, everywhere. So I have to have somewhere to sit that's comfortable, because first thing in the morning, I am not up to standing and doing fitness. So my first session in the morning is with my fatty coffee. I come and I sit on my chair, I lean on my knees. This is one of my favorite one of my positions that I love, because I just put my elbows on my knees and it jiggles my entire body, upper body and the lower body. And because I have SI joint dysfunction and lower back degenerative disc disease problems and lipomas, I tend to lean forward and lean on my knees so that it actually shifts my SI joint around a little bit and loosens me up. So it's pretty much just a loosening thing. And sometimes when you just let it go and relax a bit, the shoulders shift and move around, and that like eases up the shoulder problems, because I've had calcium deposit problems in my shoulders. And at one time, I could not even move one of my arms and had to have a barbotage because I had a great big calcium deposit in this arm. So I have chronic calcific tendinopathy in my shoulders. So the vibration and the jiggling on just on the lowest level, I like to be tossed around a lot when I'm doing this to loosen up. Now, if you go faster, like if you add some speed, it'll just kind of make the vibration less. So you feel it more inward, I find, and that actually feels good too. But in general, I just go on the lowest speed. So we'll put it right back down to what I usually do. Sorry, we're taking a second here. I gotta push the button probably. There we go. Okay, so that's what I do for about I have 15-minute increments on my thing. My plate will go up to like almost 30 minutes, but I do it in 15-minute increments, and I just change up the position. Now, Debbie taught me a good one where I put my my one foot up over and then push slightly down on my knee. This is one of the good positions that actually helps with my hips and my SI joint. So I just lightly press while my foot is jiggling more towards the middle of the plate so it's not too aggressive. Then I just leave that for a minute. I pick up my other one and I push down on my knee just to slightly open up the back of my hips there and SI joint on the other side. I just move around, I stand up. Oh, and the best one for me is where you put your feet about shoulder length apart and you just slightly move forward and hang your arms. And oh my God, it does my entire body. And since I have so much lower back and SI joint pain, that I just kind of do a lot of this. I do a lot of the circling slowly because my SI joint will separate if I do anything quick this way. Then I do the pelvic tilts. These are very good for you, whether you like to do them or not. These help the lower back, the SI joint, everything. And just give a little squeeze when you go up. Give a little squeeze, and then I'll sit back down, have some coffee. That pretty much runs the morning routine. Then when I finish the first 15 minutes, sometimes if I'm feeling up to it, it all depends how I'm feeling. I will take my massage gun and I will turn it on. And this one I find helps a lot with scar tissue. Now, I've just had a pannus removal almost 2 years ago now, but the surgeon told me to beat up my scar tissue. So it's right here from hip to hip and up to my belly button, where I had my belly button lowered 4 inches. So I have this weird scar. Let me tell you, it's ugly. But this machine, the sonic hand gun, like the massager, I run it over my scar tissue just on a regular basis. I just try to beat that up as I was instructed by the surgeon. And honestly, the numbness and the non-feeling has changed quite well. I can actually feel my stomach there. Sometimes I get a bit of numbness up in the top part. So I just beat this thing up. Now, when it comes to lipomas, I have to be really gentle because I don't like to hit the centers of my lipomas. Now, I have one right around there. So what I tend to do is I just kind of go around, and when I use the gun, it hurts me. So I have to barely touch my skin. I don't know if you can see that, but I just barely touch it. And it's on a high speed. So I just kind of skim. And that kind of like keeps the fibrosis and things down a bit. And I haven't experienced any reduction or like disappearance of any lipomas. They're everywhere. And if some are shrinking, I'm just not aware of it. So that's what I do with the gun, you know, and I'll be vibrating on the plate, and I'll just go along my legs, my muscles, just being careful not to hit the specific lipomas. But you know, this thing feels good anywhere. I just run all over the body, like even in the groin, even there. Yep. Too much information, I know, but I have lipomas all down here. And they hurt like crazy, especially when I sit on them. So that's pretty much that. You just press that in. And this is a very cool gun with all kinds of different heads. There's all kinds of different heads, and all this comes in a nice little carrying package. So you can actually take it in the hotels and things when you travel too. So that's that one. Then I recently, well, you all know probably from the one other episode I did, that I used the compression legs, full leg compression from Life Pro again. And when I have gone on a big walk for the day, like I generally do, like a 2-hour walk at least with my husband, not a hard walk. If I'm on the flat, I can walk for hours. But let me tell you, by the time I get home and I sit down, within 20 minutes, I am throbbing, aching, paining so bad, I call it verberating. So I'll just slip those legs on, go sit in my zero gravity chair for my SI joint problems. And I just lay there and have a couple of sessions, which are also about 20 minutes each. And there's different programs that you can program with that. So the soothing compression really helps with any swelling. But especially for me, it's all about pain relief and soothing. Now, the other thing that I've recently started is I'm trying to get stronger because my plate has improved my balance. It's improved my strength, but I'm trying to get a little more toning and fitness involved. So recently I got me some Life Pro click weights. And now, as you can see, they're quite light for most people, but this is 5 pounds. So that's enough for me, believe it or not. I'm so weak in the upper body, but I'll be on my plate. And just as for an example, here we go. I'm on my plate, and it doesn't hurt. Grab something, grab some soup cans, grab anything, but just, you know, just a few exercises. I know we can't do much because it hurts if we overdo, but you know what? This really improves our strength. Slowly but surely, I'm trying to get stronger in the upper body. Because you know what? I'm very weak, probably like most of you. So these are called the click weights. They're adjustable click weights, and they go up to 15 pounds on each side. So I'm only on 5, but hey, there's nothing wrong with starting slow, right? Eventually, I hope to get up to the full 15, but I'll keep you up to date on that. Now, there's another thing that I have is headaches a lot because we just do. So then I have my Oculux. Nice foam padded Oculux from Life Pro again. and you just slip it over your eyes. I got my glasses on, so I'll just hold it. But it massages, it has heat, and you can even have it Bluetooth music. So that's a really cool, relaxing tool. Even if you're stressed, throw this thing on, go lay in your bed or your chair and feel better. It's all about the feel better, soothing aspect of all of these Life Pro tools that I really love. And even though, you know, like I don't actually have as many headaches as I used to before. I don't know if it's just because I've let a lot of my stress go in my life, but this is a really cool tool to use when you have stress, headaches, migraines, neck stiffness. Even just letting yourself relax enough to let the tension go relieves a bit of that neck pain. So that's what I use for that. And there's another bit of a tool. I don't often use these because I've been lifting the weights, but more recently, I attached my cords to my plate. So now I can sit here and just do some stretching on tension cords. I can stand up, do it sideways, frontways. These are the kinds of different variables that you can do on your plate. Now, those are pretty much the tools that I've been able to use of Life Pros. There are some coming out all the time that I love, and I can't even tell you how much I appreciate Life Pro for what they've done for me. I'll never be without this plate or some plate, because if I'm honest, the vibration plate has given me the most relief and the most fitness, the most strength building, the most balancing. And I just think that with Debbie's guidance, I've become a whole new person. And I am enjoying life. I am finding joy because I've lost 40 pounds and recently I've backslid and I've gained another 6. So yeah, we're going into carnivore, ketovore, intermittent fasting, all those things that I'm going to talk about next time with my bio diet. But honestly, we just need to keep our lymph moving. We need to stay flexible, movable. And there's one other benefit. This might be too much information, but I have serious IBS with my Dercums. I have serious constipation for 40 years. And I'm happy to say that through regular vibration plate, even sitting on it helps. But I now am going to the washroom very regularly every single morning, most of the time for the last couple months now. So that's a big win for me. But I think that's pretty much it of what I do for routines. But when I do those, these are the in-home things. But if that sun's out or if it's not raining, I get out to the beach and I help my mental health, nature therapy, being grounded, being out in nature. I shoot photography. I just love birds and nature. And I just get out there and I tell you, there's nothing other than my in-home therapies, my nature walks, my ocean walks that give more physical benefits than they do. Now, family and friends, that's where mental health comes into. So that too, another part, like amazing what you'll do when you can visit with your grandchildren. Like you might come home dying from it, but every it for me. And I'm trying to live my life now as a whole and be more balanced. And yeah, if I don't feel like doing too much of the vibration plate, I'll go out for a walk instead. You have to be flexible because then there's that other part of taking care of your family. That's really difficult when you live with these kind of diseases. We're in pain all the time. So I'm a person who does batch cooking. I freeze a lot of food ahead of time so that when I'm dying and I want to go for a walk on the ocean, I can come home and just pull out homemade pizza. It just happens like that because I've had to plan that way my whole life. And I've got it down to a science, truthfully. So there's going to be a lot of the food aspect to my credit in all of this, because I believe my diet and these vibration therapies that I'm now incorporating and do regularly, daily, like I'm on this plate at least twice a day. It just makes my life better. And I'm really thankful. So thank you, Debbie. You've helped me more than any doctor. And my diet, like doctors haven't helped me, really. When it comes right down to it, my physicians and things, I mean, I did find a really great surgeon who's helping me, who's providing surgeries to make my quality of life better. But these therapies, these in-home therapies with vibration are just wellness for me. And I never had that before. I don't have any money to buy $10,000 vibration machines. I don't have money to go out to MLD therapy, massage therapy. You know, in BC, we don't get a lot of freebies. Everybody thinks that in Canada we have free medical services. Well, we don't. We have to pay user fees. We have to pay out of our pocket. And that's only if you have extended health benefits. So, you know, life is pretty expensive. So when you can have something that's affordable, accessible, and you can do it in your jammies, oh yeah, I'm in. So I guess that's probably most of the things I can talk about today, I think, Deb. So maybe some questions and answer period we can do today.
I'll add just a couple of things. You know, Kim's given me all the credit and the food all the credit, and really, I sound like a broken record. You guys have to give yourself the pat on the back too, because it's the getting off your ass and doing it regular. Consistency, whether it's food, whether it's the shaky machine, whether it's nagging the doctor, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So, and to the family and the lifestyle piece, you know, very often we don't put ourselves first. You know, that's not a Dercum's disease thing. That's a chick thing. That's a mom thing. So all the more reason, you know, I can't tell you how many, and it's hard not to take it personally because I invest a lot of time in this page. But when people say to me, I don't have time to watch your video to learn, you need to, you know, I'm not saying you have to watch my video and I'll always give you clues, but if you don't have time to sit down for an hour and learn how to treat yourself properly, that tells me you're probably not doing it at all. And really, you know, I'm not brilliant. I'm not smart. I'm a nag. I think that's why my page is, because I nag you and I say the same thing time and time again. But it's, you know, Kim's been doing this long enough that routine takes time. And especially if you have a setback, it can be so demotivating. You know, it's okay to have good days and bad days. And the biggest thing that Kim said that resonates and is so important to remember, you know, don't beat yourself up if you have those days where you're just doing minimal effort. You know, just move and feel better, and you know, the rest becomes more possible. I know we all get up and we have a list of what we're going to accomplish in the world today, but the reality is, you know, if you're, you know, depleting yourself before noon, you're not going to get to any of it anyways. So you know, it's hard to commit time, and Kim's gotten herself into a good routine, but even 2 to 3 minutes, if you don't own a vibration plate, you know, walk around the kitchen 3 times. You know, when you move, lymph moves. And I thank you for experimenting on the lipomas piece. The ones that are seeing things break up tend to be a little more aggressive in their use. So that's absolutely a caution on tolerance. You know, if you're extreme with pain like Kim, I wouldn't recommend it, but for those, it is, you know, it's what you can tolerate. And then that's another big variable for everybody, whether it's a feel good or a fitness thing. So thank you for sharing. And, you know, just to give you a bit of a clue financially, everything, because prices in Canada are a little bit different and we don't get all the products here in Canada that you can get in the States. You can get them in the UK, but I think if she were to go buy everything off the shelf right now that she showed, I think you'd be under 600 bucks, 500 bucks. And she didn't like just buy them all one day. It was like, Kim, will you please? So Life Pro was kind enough. I've done a few giveaways in my time. A couple of those items were obtained with me nagging them, saying, I need to experiment on this body that's got all these problems. So I like Life Pro not only because they have infrastructure and support, but they give me and this community the time of day. So I got a call, what, about a month ago, Kim? There was a really big conference in Cleveland last weekend, and they were looking for some door prizes last minute. And you know, all I can do is ask. So I picked up the phone and I called Life Pro, and I'm like, because you got to keep in mind how small of a trade show FDRS is in comparison to some of the shows out there. And I asked them, I said, can you please, is it possible for you to donate like a vibration plate or something? You know, we'll get you some good advertising, you know, I'll throw in some trading sessions. And, you know, they just laughed at me and said, just tell us what you want us to send. You know, like I've worked with a lot of companies out there, and, you know, I feel like I'm asking for free shit sometimes, but they're just very supportive. And Kim is, you know, part of the reason we do these things is just to spread awareness. There's so many people in their group that have these conditions, and so many I get from the Life Pro group that are like, I think I might have that, you know. But again, there's more out there that don't know and aren't diagnosed. So the more places we can get our feelers out from an advocacy standpoint, and, you know, Life Pro, like I say, they're just more accessible. I do have other companies. I recommend different ones in Australia. Really depends on where you're from, but the basics of the vibration plate, whatever you have, they basically operate the same. So a lot of my guidance is trying to cater to whatever plate you have, not necessarily a specific brand. So if you do have questions on some of the stuff that Kim's done today, and, you know, what settings or what should I do, letting me know what type of plate you have. Even Life Pro, within, like, their Rumblex has 60 speeds, but their Waver has 99, but they're both 14 hertz. So, you know, I'm not going to confuse the science, but it just gives you more variety to play within those ranges. Kim's got a Rumblex now. It's got a few more. It's got the lateral and the buzz. But all of their plates have the oscillating, which is how we walk. That's what I do all of my teachings in. And I think in the States, it's Mother's Day. They have a sale right now, I think. So yeah, it's under $200 for the one that Kim's got. And if you're under, you know what, if you're under 250, like, everybody's so to the number, their little mini one accommodates up to 220 pounds, but weight capacities, just because you might be over 220 doesn't mean the plate's going to break. It's like, if you're doing squats and push and you're working that machine, then I would worry about weight capacity. But for $40 less, you know, from a wellness perspective, the mini's a good choice that way too. And it's just, here's me, it's that much less expensive. And it is portable too. So, you know, when you're looking at a plate, where are you going to put it? What are you going to use it for? Are you going to be moving it around? Sometimes deciding on what equipment you're using isn't always about the price or the performance. It's about what you're going to be using it for. And if I could show you how many times everybody's on my arms lately because it's tank top. Oh, what do you do for your arms? Like, how come your arms are so toned? I move these damn plates around all day long. I'm doing this session, so I'm going to put this plate up. And so I always try to have the plate on camera of what I'm coaching on my private sessions. And I don't have all the machines in the world, but at one time I've owned as many as like 35 of them. So I have a little bit of it. So that's why I know so much about each of the brands. So if you can give me your brand, I'll kind of translate what setting or what have you. When it comes to programs, the presets, those are just variable presets that you don't have to think. They're nice to use, but they're not universal either. So if you're using a P1 and Kim's using a P3, they might be the same program, but with different machines. So it's not really a language in the vibration. It's just
do what feels good. You just
and a lot of
do
these
what feels good for you.
I had a lady the other day that in another group that we got into a big fight about lateral mode, the one where you see it goes this way. It's a nice one if you have bad brain issues like migraines, headaches, fear. It doesn't, but I personally do not like it. The body doesn't move this way. Joints don't move this way. So I don't really like it. I do like pulsation, but my pulsation machines are like 50 times more intense. I have commercial medical devices, but most people don't love pulsation because it does give you head buzz. They're just a way to mix it up. But where those came from was people like you, 10 years ago when somebody was on a plate, it's like, well, this is nice, but I wish it did this, or I wish it did that. So a lot of these other combos that these machines have nowadays, there's no science behind them. There never will be. So there's not going to, it's a bonus, if you like how it feels, great. But a lot of people ask me, well, should I get the Rumblex? Strictly in this mode, you're not getting a lot more performance than you would in the waiver. You just got to decide if those extra features, it's got sexier lights and, there's a few more accessories that come with them too. But if you're looking bare bones budget, you don't always need to spend tons. Carrie has a question. I'm getting dizzy since starting my Vibe, sometimes hours later. Unmute yourself, Carrie. Let's get into the meat of it.
I just wanted to add something before you guys get into that. I forgot because I was holding up my phone with it on the stool so you could see me properly.
Oh,
This is my Legra hand massager. I can't tell you how much pain relief. I have a lot of trouble with my hands, right? The nerve pain, the arthritis stuff. But oh my gosh, you guys just got to get a hand massager. It's wonderful sitting there watching TV, getting soothed. So go ahead, Deb.
Massager and phone holder now too, right? Carrie, what kind of machine are you using, hon?
The waiver.
Oh, you've got the waiver. Okay. All right. Do you usually use shoes? I'm curious.
Do I what?
Do you normally use shoes?
I do, because standing on this platform without anything in between, it really hurts.
Okay. Something that's very common. Yeah, with eventually I always try to get people to progress to a point of no shoes. Sometimes that means a couple 3 mats, and I'll tell you why. Shoes are rigid and they kind of force your foot to be in a set structure. And sometimes what happens, and this is related to the dizziness, sometimes the shoes, I don't want to say they pad the feet, but they intensify what's going up here because your body kind of absorbs it in a different way. I deal with this a lot with my kids that have orthotics. So they have to wear orthotics because they got this, and mom just spent $400 on the orthotics, twice the price of the plate. So I'm not going to say, oh, chuck them. But what will happen is the actual structure, if there's any weakness in the arches, the foot will regain strength and structure on its own. But if it's in a shoe, it gets lazy. It doesn't have to do the stabilization in the same fashion, if you will. But if you're scared, uncomfortable, it's painful, we start there and we progress together. So tell me so you've got your shoes on. What have you been doing on it?
Everything that was in the book. I've tried everything as far as I can do. This is really the first time in 2 weeks I've sat down using it. I'm usually standing up, doing the pelvic tilt and rolling around, or doing squats. Well, my squats.
Yeah.
I don't go down very far.
No, that's fine.
But I my first few sessions were without shoes, and I just kick them off now.
Okay.
And I can feel it's not as painful until I stand up, and then all I feel is pain in my feet.
Okay. Leave the shoes for today. How many times have you been dizzy? More often than not, or just once? It was a couple of times.
Every day since I started using it.
Okay.
And I have sat on it. I've done all different ways. And
I can tell you exactly what you've done. And it's kind of a catch-22. I love what you've done because you got out the gate and you did it and you committed, but I think you've overdone it. I think you've way overdone it. And one of the things I struggle with on this page and why it exists is the cookie cutter manufacturer doesn't know about Dercums. And even though you have Dercums, you still follow the manufacturer's guidelines. And you probably went 15 minutes. And it feels good while you're doing it. So you do more and then you try these things. And, same. Yesterday I did a session for them, golf and gardening, and I I haven't done some of these things in a while. If I didn't screw up my damn shoulder doing an easy session with I put a golf club in a garden hole. I just haven't done, I do this every day of the week, but I haven't done that in a while. And today I'm like, why is my shoulder? Oh, I was showing off on camera yesterday. So even I do it. And the reason for the page is, in my opinion, and I'm sorry for all the Life Pro people that might be watching, what they teach you on how to use these machines is the absolute opposite of what I instruct on this page. Because of the bodies we're dealing with, they're usually deficient. There's things wrong with them. So I would suggest for you, because you've got the waiver, so I would recommend it if you want to just try this right now with me on the phone so you can feel the difference. Just put it, don't use a preset. Put it in just the regular manual oscillating and bring it up to about, you're sitting or you're standing right now?
I'm going to stand.
Okay, put your feet as close to the center as your thighs will allow. Make sense?
Makes sense. Okay.
Okay, and that's when I want your feet as close as possible, and I want you getting up to, try bringing it up to about 50 or 60, and don't be scared. The faster you go, the smoother the vibration becomes. But if your feet are excessively wide, it just gets too turbulent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that doesn't hurt my feet as much because I kicked off my shoes.
Yeah.
So,
What the foot thing, and everybody talks about speeds or levels, but in the world of science, there's actually two things to consider. There's your speed or how fast you're moving, but there's also what's called amplitude. And amplitude is how much it's moving you. And on most of the plates, they've got like a standing, a walking, and a jogging. And every trade show you've been to, every doctor's office that has these machines coaches you to stand really wide because you get the most shake, but you get the most impact. So none of you run for 2 hours a day, but you run for 15 minutes on this machine. That's and what happens with a body like yours is because you've got discipline and you stuck with it and you did it because you figured it was just something you had to suck up and get through. The body, as a woman, we guard and protect. So after your body starts getting tired, we actually tense up and resist it without even realizing, and our head is rigidly moving. And usually you would have felt a little bit on the dizzy side sooner after, but sometimes it's not till later. Everybody's a little different. It could be a bit of toxicity. You got a lot of lymphatic movement going on, but I'm going to say it was probably a combination of standing too wide and just sticking with it because you figured you were supposed to. So today, and get back to me tonight, message me personally, whatever, just try doing it with the feet closer, more at that mid speed, whatever it is you were doing. I don't think sitting on it, as much as you'd think sitting on it's going to affect the head, it really doesn't, because you're kind of relaxed. You know, it actually, we've got we're absorbing it in a different way, but it's when you're standing, you're almost like this pendulum, and there's a much more, and you look like you're tall too, Carrie. How tall are you?
I'm only 5'4".
Okay, so you're not a itty bitty, but the taller we are, and with those wide feet, so if we bring the feet closer, it just reduces the amount of movement to the head.
Yeah, and I had my feet wide.
Okay.
But
and it's not, I don't want you thinking it's a wrong thing, but it's what comes in the box. So everybody does it, right? Yeah. And then people say, well, Life Pro should know better. And Life Pro is a consumer company. Who should know better is the medical devices that started all this 40 years ago. They have a responsibility to teach the masses, because everything's copied over, anything's copied over time, right? So you're not doing the industry any favors by not providing. A lot of people have bad experiences on these machines because they just follow what they were told to do. So just remember that you're not dealing with a regular body. And I think more like if you did 2 or 3 5-minute sessions, whatever, depending on what your day looks like, if you tend to have sleep issues like restless leg or back pain, you might want to, do a couple 3 minutes even before bed, just to, you know what I mean? So you can break that time up and build up, not just in time, but before we even widen up the feet, the first thing I normally say is, well, then we start working on the squats. Let's get a little more functional before we make it meaner. Because then when you do get a little bit more range of motion in your squats, standing wider is not as big a deal because you can bend a bit and you get it out of the hand. It just takes time. So I don't want you being dizzy. I don't want you having headaches. I have also seen people get dizzy. There's a lot of oxygenation going on too. So there's a lot, if nutrients or uptake of nutrients is an issue, this also helps the body. I'm getting off tangent, but just that additional oxidation in your system, the energy. Sometimes you feel energized and you go do a whole bunch of other stuff because you feel so great, and you pay the price later too. So give it about a good month of feeling better before you sign up for a triathlon, because it isn't uncommon when you're doing those shorter sessions. You just feel, oh, I feel great. I'm going to like paint the house and mow the lawn, and we all do it, right? And you'll pay for it later. And then guess what? You think it's the machine. Oh, it must be the machine. I'm so sore. It's so tired. So, and yeah, message me later, Carrie. And if you are dizzy, but I'm going to be cocky and say I'm probably 99% certain it's just that simple correction.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
I'd like to add
Hi, Farah. We also have Carol that has joined us. And McKen, what is your first name? Is it Anne? Well, good guess. I don't know why I was thinking that.
Yeah.
You made a few comments. Did you have any questions?
No, you've already answered, because I was thinking maybe I should do the same. I'm in really rough shape. So my whole spine is surrounded. My uterus is full. I mean, like every couple of inches, I've got the lipomas every couple inches, like literally.
Have you got a diagnosis?
I don't have the formal diagnosis, but I had one biopsied way back, and it was a very, very rubbery, tough, thick, encapsulated lipoma, and I have pretty much every symptom for Dercum. So there's a number of reasons I didn't get diagnosed, because when I finally got my doctor to give me a referral, Dr. Herbst retired for a while, and there were no other trained people to diagnose at that time. And then I left the country trying to get well, because I, wanted fresh foods and vitamin C IVs and things like that. So, but my husband died of COVID, unfortunately, and I am in the worst shape of my life because I got it. And so like a year and a half later, I'm still not, I was starting to look healthy again. And so anyway, long story short, I'm back in the States where I could get diagnosed, but I don't know. I'm sure I have it. My mom has lymphedema. She has more of the lymphedema than I do. I have the lymphedema starting like in my thighs and in my belly, and then of course in the arms a little. And the reason I know it's lymphedema is I did manual lymphatic drainage through a physical therapist for a year.
Okay.
Because they made a big mistake with my insurance, and I was stupid, didn't know, thought they were all covered. But anyway, everything went back to normal. Everything, like my arms went back to normal, my thighs, my belly went all the way down. So I know it was lymph pooling. But anyway, I'm sure we have it. So
one thing I want to stress about that is I'm always just curious if you have a diagnosis and if there's other, it's about finding other doctors out there too, right?
Yeah.
But I think most of you are more versed with your conditions than the average doctor, but we get into that doctor and we doubt, like there's some authority, and you don't give them that authority over you, you guys. I guess I've been fighting with them for too long, but you know what? You need to fight for your right for care. And, I don't think, in my opinion, with Dercums and even sometimes lipedema, I don't always think having a diagnosis helps you in the long run anyways, because then you go, now that you've got this diagnosis and you've spent all this time and money and stress getting it, it's it still doesn't mean it's going to get you better care at less cost.
No,
And gee, I don't know. I'm so sorry that your husband passed. I mean, maybe
Thank
you're a
you.
little stressed.
yeah, my
Right.
hair is falling out, and he was a sweetheart. It was really hard trial on me, so.
Oh, I'm so,
He
I'm
had lesions, brain lesions. So those of us with immune impairment don't seem to just lose our taste and smell. So, but yeah, it's been a really hard trial. So the stress has caused my
yeah.
symptoms to worsen. But I'm excited though to start over, and I know he would want me to.
Yep.
And because of you, I ordered my plate yesterday.
Which one did you order?
So.
What did you order?
Well, I took the big plunge and went ahead and got a hyper vibe just because I'm such like,
You and I were talking.
huh? Yes.
Okay, that's why I knew your name. I wasn't
Yeah.
like, okay, yes.
That's me. So I just did it because you know what? I need help fast. So I'm just gonna, and my mom's plate hurts me. So I'm just praying that maybe this plate will work out for me.
You and I will have a call once it arrives, correct?
Yes. I'm excited. Thank you.
Anne has gotten a medical device version. A Hyper Vibe in the US starts at about 1,000, a little less with a discount, but it is a much higher performing, this is more what's discussed in my cerebral palsy group. And there are different risks with medical plates, things like seizures, things like spasms, not to relate, but when you're dealing with neurological disorders, there is neurological stimulation with that plate. So yes, I will hold your hand through your first guidance. The difference between Hyper Vibe, Galileo, which is also, but it's more like Tangerand, compared to the Life Pros and the consumer plates, is you wouldn't need to spend as much physical time for the same benefits you guys are doing here. So for those of you that are doing, 5-10 minutes for the lymph piece, I would prescribe like 1 to 2 minutes because the movements she can go twice as fast as what your Life Pro will offer. So, but it's another beast and it's a different tolerance and it takes some time to get used to that. So I look forward to holding your hands and getting some feedback. And I will say on a mental note, a mental health note, one of the things that I've noticed over the years, when people say to me, well, what are the machines? If you had to pick one thing that these machines offer, from the fitness, the mental health, and I don't know that's the right word, but they just make you happy. I have a lady at NASA. She's like a NASA researcher, and I got the opportunity to spend some time with her a few years ago in Texas. And I went to her clinic and I was doing some interviews for a company and, all these physios, and all she had to say was, it just makes me happy. Like, that's it. You can't give me something more scientific, something NASA. No, they just make me happy. And you know what? If, to Kim's point, look at her. If it makes you feel better, guess what else might be possible? And the biggest thing, whether it's pain, whether it's your doctor, you guys just have so many, there's so many walls that you have to run into. So, I'm strong. I can take the shit and the abuse. Let me be that person for you, and just focus on yourself and be a little selfish and give yourself some time every day. Because I think the mental is the one thing we all share, and we put it off and we put it off, and I'll be okay and I'll have a cup of tea and I'll just use my vibe. And sometimes we just need to, it's okay to cry, and sometimes it's okay to swear and get pissed off and yell at your kids or your husband, because you guys, you're dealing with these conditions, but you also tend to be the anchor in the family or in life, and you're always second. So stop doing that if you are. Okay, I'm not gonna cry now. And what else do we have here? I got some other Zoom call about sales that I don't really want to go to, so I'm not going to. And Blaze, you're the best judge of your body. You live in it every day. The doctors don't.
Yeah.
That should be on a t-shirt, actually. And whether it's Dercums or lipedema or cancer, on a mental note, when we're in front of a doctor and they tell us something, you have two choices. You can accept it or you can choose not to believe it. And I have seen in my lifetime, not just with the Vibe machine, so many people that have healed themselves because they just believed it was possible. And Kim said, you know, this is an incurable disease. You know, I've just seen too many times. I love being proved wrong. The first time I ever got proved wrong was a doctor in Winnipeg told me that type 1 diabetes is irreversible. And everything I've been told in my whole life and seen, that's absolutely true. I have a client in Winnipeg called Ferd. His name is Ferd, like Ferdinand the Bull. Ferd has gone from about 375 pounds to about 185 pounds of fit, and he no longer has diabetes. Like, I don't know what to say. His doctor won't admit it. Type 1. Type 1. This is what I'm saying. So just because science says it's not possible, science is never settled, ever. And any doctor or scientist that tells you that's it, you know, like 5 years ago when I had to make an impression and feed my children, I cared what the medical community and the scholars say. But you know what? Too often in my career with you guys and these machines, it's not about proving people wrong. It's just proving there's possibility elsewhere and exploring it. So yes, Ferd no longer has diabetes of any way, shape, or form. And all the doctors are telling me is, you know, he must have been misdiagnosed. Well, shit. I mean, how many times have I heard that too? So miracles can happen every day. With the Hypervibe that Anne purchased, you know, I have little kids that have never felt their feet in their life, and they feel them when they put them on a machine. So don't tell me that, you know, because this kid didn't meet this marker, they'll never walk. I have little kids getting out of wheelchairs every day. I'm not a physio, I'm not a doctor, but the parents stick with it consistently every day. And you know what? They're fun. You know, it's not fun to go to physio when you're 5 and can't talk and walk and they just strap you into things and make the machines are fun. And if they stop becoming fun for you, then you need to reach out to me and we need to change what you're doing, because I just want to keep you guys going with it. Okay. All right. It's emotional day. It's been a shit show in the group this week. I'm almost bulletproof, but do we have any other questions here? What is the difference between Dercums and lipedema? I believe I have Dercums. That's a very big question. Julene, please unmute yourself and let's have a little yap on that.
Yes.
You know, there's a number of differences, but I think there's just as many similarities that it's very hard sometimes, unless you do have the right doctor, to sort of decipher between the differences. Can you tell me a little bit about, you know, what you're experiencing and what you think you might be dealing with?
Well, I was diagnosed with Cushing's. So of course, the high cortisol levels, I have a lot of fat deposits from that. So I have one on the back of my neck. I have one on my spine. I have a lot of like knots in my legs and in my arms. So I don't know if
I think they're actual lumps like we were talking about today.
I just feel knots. I don't know if some of them are small, some of them are bigger, but they just feel like solid kind of masses.
Okay. Is there definition? Like, could you feel like a little ball, or is it just more of a general area?
It's the general area. Well, right now with my legs, I have on my compression, so it kind of softens them.
Yeah.
So I can't feel them as much, but it almost feels like a fat wad.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily mean it's lipomas. I'm just asking my own crazy questions. So thank you. Okay. And when did you start looking into all of this, or when did you think that this might be something you're dealing with?
So I was diagnosed with Cushing's in September of last year or August of last year. My mobility has started to slow down prior to. My legs got bigger, my arms got bigger. Once I had my surgery in October to remove my brain, the tumor on my pituitary gland, everything just kind of started to spiral. So over the last 6 months, my body has just been kind of spiraling out of control.
Oh, honey. What are your pain levels like?
It's funny you asked. Last night I was at a 10. Like I could not sleep. I was up until 1 o'clock in the morning. I took hydrocodone, I took Tylenol, I took Gas X. Like I'm like, something take this pain away. And I was up to like 1 o'clock in the morning until it finally decided it wanted to stop. So I was able to go to sleep. I can only walk about 2 to 3 minutes before my back starts to hurt.
Yeah.
My legs, of course, are really heavy. My knees, I don't have as much motion in my knees or my waist.
Yeah. It's all
So,
relative, right? The more we
yeah.
sit, right? Do you have any tools? Do you have a machine, a gun?
I have a Life Pro, the waiver.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
Uh-huh.
Are you using
I've
it? Are you scared to? How can I
I
help?
use it typically once a day. By the evening, I'm so tired and just in pain that I don't want to exacerbate that pain. So I
Yep.
usually use it early afternoon and I do 15 minutes. I sit down on it. I went to a level 5, but that caused me a lot of pain in my knees and my hips. So I went back down to 3, and 3 is where I've been for 15 minutes a day
So when you say sit, you mean like in a chair or you're physically sitting on it?
in a chair.
Okay. Okay. I would love, and I don't know if your life allows, I would love, like I've challenged Carrie here, probably it's probably hard with the thighs to bring the feet like dead center, but closer together if you've been wide. Okay.
Yeah.
And P5, you've got the waiver. Is that the one you have? Okay. So P5, yeah, it kind of ramps up and down, and it's not the high speeds. It's the slow, choppy speeds that actually are the ones that our body's got more time to guard and protect, and it'll always find the path of least resistance, right? So try running it just in the manual mode, but bring it up to about the 50-60 range. Like I don't think that you were here when I was talking to Carrie. She was getting a little bit dizzy. And when you get these things out of the box, we forget that we're dealing with conditions and we just do what they've advised people with no issues to do.
Right.
So I think versus 15 minutes, even though it might feel good, I would love to see you try using it, really whenever you feel you need to. Your back pain, you think of it as your Advil or your Tylenol or whatever your pain relief might be. And is it close, or do you have to go somewhere far to get to it? Like, is it?
No, it's close.
Sometimes we put it like in another room, and if walking to the room and back is going to kill you, I recommend have it in the kitchen or in the living room, just until you start moving and feeling a little bit better. But I would love to see you like do a couple 5 minutes, and if you had so much pain last night, I'd be curious to see if you're willing to experiment tonight. And you can totally get mad at me tomorrow if I make it worse, but it's kind of one of those things you got to try. I think you may find some relief doing a little bit before bed, but I mean a little bit, like 2 to 3 minutes at a mid to higher speed, just to get things moving before you lay down. I will caution you though, sometimes you feel like you're still vibrating because the lymph is still moving or it feels a little crawly. So don't be spooked if that's what you feel. That's very, very common. Because you probably had a crap sleep by the time you did get to some sleep, and you're for that today. But 2 to 3 minutes more often versus, like, I don't want you anywhere near 10 or 15 if that's possible. But we do that. Everybody does this because that's what the machine was set for. And we're not all big exercise gurus, or we wouldn't be on Debbie's page. So we just do what the machine is preset for. And back in the day, most machines used to be 10 minutes. But, people said, well, it's not, I want to go longer. So most of the manufacturers have added it to 15 or 30, but that doesn't mean that you should personally be going that long. So if a walk is killing you after 2 to 3 minutes, even just seated 15 minutes, that's a lot of movement. And, maybe the machine, if it gave you a bad night, and if it did, I'm sorry. But that's you probably overdid it. You probably overdid it a bit. You've got a new diagnosis. You're pissed off, you're scared. you know what, we're here for you. Just be patient with me and I'll help you experiment. If you've got a plate, it's absolutely worth a shot. I think there's a lot we can do to at least give you some quality of life back, and you know, where this I also have a few other clients with Cushing's, but it's gonna be about hypermobility, fatigue, those type of, very similar to a lot of these things. So like I was saying, you know, to some of the other gals, if you don't have a diagnosis, sometimes it's not worth the stress of trying to navigate. You know what your symptoms are, and that's what I tend to, you know, I don't care if it's Dercum's or lipedema. It's some of the symptoms are crossing over on both sides. So it's interesting about the pain and the tension, and that could very well be just your body trying to cope with the changes. And on a mental level, before October, you didn't know you had anything, right?
Exactly.
Now you got something else to freaking worry about, right? So it's just a label. It's just a label. And there's lots we can do. I'm glad you joined us today.
So you saying I should do like the 5 hurt. So you saying I should go up to 50?
Go up to 50, 60 speed range, somewhere mid, like about half, 3/4 of the way up. You'll find it's much smoother, but only do like 2 to 3 minutes, even though it's going to feel like, oh, this is great. And try that a couple, 3 times and listen to your body. You know, when the back's hurting. There was one, I don't know if I got a machine set up here today. That one Kim was doing. So when she's on the machine, you know, and I'm not saying you should be standing on the machine. I leave this up to you. But all she's doing is, instead of standing, she's leaning forward just ever so slightly, and you'll feel all the vibration goes here. You know, and maybe what I would suggest is, if you got the back of a couch or something, I'm only an A cup, so I'm not, but if some of you are bigger, I don't want you falling. Okay. I've had it happen, I kid you not. So have a chair, just something to support yourself. I really like going this far, coming down, and it's really good if you're constipated too. But you know, if you're scared, you know, I think you'll find with the feet closer and a faster speed, it's a lot less scary. Anything under about 20 or 30 is really wobbly. They're about balance and stability. So it's like you're on a Bosu ball. So when people say start slow, we think it's a speed thing, like a treadmill. Okay. Right? Yeah. And suck it up for 15 minutes because we, you know, and this isn't Life Pro's fault. This, you know, this is every machine and every doctor. I'm not naming names, but those of you that are FDRS people that I've messaged, outlining the frequency is great. But where are they supposed to put their feet? I get that. Use 12 hertz or use speed 60. But what do I do with my feet, and what position should I be doing? So, you know, it's really much more about you than what I do for Dercum's. It's the body you're dealing with. So I think you'll find that a little bit more pleasant than the slow and the variable. The P5 especially goes way down in the slow speeds, and then it ramps up. So it feels really good sometimes, and it feels really choppy sometimes. Just get used to the basic movement, and we'll get fancy once you're, you know, pirouetting and doing ballet things on it. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Message me later tonight, whether good or bad, both Carrie and Julene, please. Okay. Thank you. So what does Farah or Lisa or Blaze have questions? Blaze has listened to me ramble almost as much as Kim has. The two of you could run my page at this point, but you could probably both work for Life Pro too if you wanted to. Does it also burn calories? It can. I got to be honest, Kara, I hate the calorie question because it's a variable. So the other thing I hate about these machines is they have calorie counters on them. Oh. You know what? If you're standing, you're not burning as many calories as if you're squatting. But yes, there's obviously anytime you're moving, there is, to a degree, your bodies have to recruit. For me, the best bang for your buck, if you're looking at weight loss or those types of things, is early in the day. If you're post 40 like me, that metabolism goes way down, and how many calories your body uses in idle mode, so when you're just going about your day, drops. Okay, so by doing if you're going to do squats or you're going to do a walk, by doing those things earlier in the day, it falsely elevates your metabolism. So throughout the rest of the day, you're shaving a few more calories than had you not. Cardio is, in my opinion, not the best way to lose weight. You burn a lot of calories, but our bodies just, I got a bad knee and I don't really like to run. I never did. But muscle recruitment, resistance, weights, resistance, vibration plates, things that engage the muscles. You're not burning as many calories maybe during the activity, but it's how it elevates that metabolism throughout the rest of the day. So I'm not saying, you burn more calories when you're sitting on your butt than had you not done it. So, and that's another reason, just 2 to 3 minutes throughout the day might be a squat. It doesn't have to be, if you want to do a squat. A lot of my ladies with fibro before Kim, a lot of them just do the squats because that's what fires up the quads, and that's where a lot of the leg pain. Same with restless leg. If you've got restless leg at night, and everybody's going to go, how it affects you, if it's the calves, as if it's the thighs, doing a little calf raise or a calf stretch just to target that area sometimes is all the relief you need. And the more I can give you physical relief and less pharmaceutical relief, the better. You guys got enough wizardry in your cabinets. That's the downside of our relationship. Poor Kim has to listen to all my ramblings and what I really feel about science sometimes.
I just want to put out there as well. I, through diet and these vibration therapies, I use mine for fitness at times too. When I can't get out in the winter, I just do more of the fitness, the squats, you sit, hold your legs out as far as you can up in the air a bit, like anything you can do to increase your muscle mass and get stronger, you burn more fat. So getting stronger means you are getting fit. You're going to burn more calories if you have more muscle.
Yeah. Good point.
My body has eaten my muscles and my tendons and ligaments, because when I first got heavy, I restricted my calories, like thinking that was it. But I am actually, since having Dercums, I am so backwards. I have to eat a whole bunch, at least over 2,000 calories a day. And then I'll drop a few pounds. But as soon as I go back to my 500 calories a day or not being able to eat, I gain that weight right back. I can never lose more than 10 or 20. When I was on keto, I actually lost 20, but I did a lot of damage to my joints. Apparently, my body was eating itself during that time. So I just have to, I'm wondering about the calories, because then I need to try to increase what I can eat. I think I have a tumor that presses on my stomach, and when it swells, I can't eat because I'm full.
I understand. What's interesting, and I thank you for bringing the calorie question up, because it means different to everybody. I don't like to talk calories because I think it's the stupidest thing to count. And I'll tell you why. You're the perfect example. If you knew what I ate yesterday, oh my God, where is it? Okay. I'm like you. When I was younger, I couldn't even have a piece of cake. I got into these machines because I was too fat to have a knee replacement, by the way. I had to lose weight. So what if your diet consists of steak, avocado, heavy cream, all those, what we now know are good fats for us? It doesn't take much to get to 2,000 calories, but some of you are eating lots of volume, but very nutrient and calorie poor. So I don't like doing the calorie thing, because I think if you're eating quality food, you can't do that in I don't like I don't think it's the way to lose weight personally. So, and Kim's looking at me because I know she probably has about 6 avocados a day, but, I think you're one of those people, and there are people out there that you need, your body isn't uptaking or absorbing the nutrient that it needs. So therefore you have to eat more calories. You might be pooping more. But this is one of the, you're gonna get into a doctor situation, and I'm probably over advising. I do not give advice, and don't treat, but I've seen this, and I've had clients that have never eaten more in their life, and they've never been skinnier then accept a lot of it is the discipline piece again. So if you're gonna, you obviously know the recipe for you and what type of, you did the keto thing you said, but I think 2,000-3,000 calories a day is not unheard of for some people. It's what's making up those calories. So if you find that your success is better with a calorie rich diet, that's totally fine. And if I was coaching you one-on-one, I don't know that you actually have a level of atrophy in your muscles, but if you've depleted your muscle mass to that degree, I'd be saying, suck it up as far as the weight. I want your calories up anyways, because I want lots of protein. I want lots of good, because we need those to build muscle. You're not going to build muscle on 500 calories a day. So you all need to now, when we're done this call, you need to go to your room and take your weigh scale and put that in a room where it's hard to get to. We as women we're slaves. I used to have classes where I'd line up 5 or 6 of the machines and gals would come shake. And I had a weigh scale in there because we were doing like this Biggest Loser competition. And I had one lady that would weigh herself like 5 times every time she was there. And I finally asked her, like, why are you doing that? Well, I'm just going to see. When the vibration machines came out, and I'm going to blame it on Tyra Banks, about 12 years ago, she had vibration machines on her show. And the calorie counters came in because of this. I have a point. I always ramble. I don't know how they did it, but they put 3 or 4 of the people on the show on these machines. And before they did it, they took their weight and they took their BMI or whatever. And then they got off the plate and the one lady lost a pound. And I swear to God, the Tyra Banks show sold about 600,000 vibration machines for whatever company it was. Because I remember seeing it. I'm like, you're not buying this, are you? All these women were messing. I got to have this plate. And because this woman had this result, maybe she went off camera and took a shit. I could lose 5 pounds doing that. Sorry. But so to me, there was some trickery amok there. But at the end of the day, these women were like, well, if I get and use the same plate, I'm going to have the same results. And we think that, we see something posted on my page and I have to do it the same way to get the same results, but we're different bodies. So the calorie thing, interesting, Carrie, that's not uncommon. I think we don't talk about it because it's a taboo in society that we need to, wear our heart monitors. And there was a question on Life Pro's page the other day and they're like 70 comments. I do this. And at the end, I said, this is all bullshit anyways, because counting calories is useless. And no offense, all it does is demotivate you. Oh my God, I didn't burn 40 calories today.
I started eating like a giant candy bar every night because I couldn't get enough calories in without crap, like sugar stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'll bet
then there's more inflammation.
Yourself up about that chocolate bar, the better you started feeling.
Well, I would literally force myself. I'm kind of different in that sense that, yes, well, now actually I kind of do enjoy it. And I wish that I could, but I know that I get very inflamed when I eat a lot of sugar. So
Sugar equals inflammation. Sadly,
I got foot baths for that though. I like my chocolate. Hey, Blaze, did you have a question there, babe? Or did you want to add something to Carrie?
Not a question. Carrie, have you ever heard of keto chow?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Keto chow.
Keto gel or chow?
Chow.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
they just
No, I
put
haven't.
those Salt Lake conference too. You should go check out, everybody.
It is a meal replacement shake. You get to pick your fat source. Most commonly, they use heavy whipping cream or butter, unsalted butter, or salted if you want salted, or avocado oil. Okay, you mix it up, put it in your fridge, and then have it like the next day. And it has like 24 grams of protein.
Woo!
And I have found I put egg white, a scoop of egg white protein powder or bee protein powder in it as well to up the protein to 15 grams of protein. So, and you can put beef gelatin in it to make it a pudding. Okay.
Chocolate.
And they have lots of flavors.
Cool.
Snickerdoodle, chocolate mint, chocolate, peanut butter chocolate,
That's awesome.
banana, lots of flavors to choose from.
Blaze,
Is
will you drop a link? If you don't have it handy, you can drop it in the event and we can find it that way too.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was just thinking to say to Carrie, you know, can you suck back a smoothie? Because I'm like you too. Like if I don't eat, and it'll be like I'll go 6 or 7 o'clock.
This will be better than a smoothie. Trust me.
Well,
Because-
something drinkable, and
Because it has
better.
a third of your daily vitamins and minerals in it.
Okay.
Okay. So
And
Yeah,
you're
I'll
getting-
try
absorb it better. You'd probably absorb it
Oh.
better, Carrie.
Everybody
Now,
needs pretty pricey though.
it can be pricey. Okay. The thing is, there are a lot of YouTubers on YouTube that have a 10% discount
Okay.
if you use their link.
Okay.
Kelly Hogan, Two Crazy Ketos,
Yeah.
Janet Greta.
Lipedema. I bet you Kelly and Cheryl probably have a link for it through the. Are you on the food group? Lipedema intolerances and.
I don't think so, because I just have Dercums.
No,
Yeah.
I think that I should. That's my food go-to page. I'll bet you Kelly probably has a code too. Kelly and Cheryl probably do.
Probably.
That's awesome. Thank you for
Because
putting that
I
up.
know
Thank you.
Keto Chow was a sponsor of the FDR conference. Okay.
Oh.
So
Karen and them would have a code for it then too.
one of the owners, Miriam, has lipedema. And her husband created Keto Chat because they had issue with some of the other ingredients in other products. Now, it is a dairy whey product. It has whey powder in it. And just check it out. I'm not saying, I'm trying to give you options to up your calories and deal when you're can't eat a steak or something like that, and get your protein in because you need high protein.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's all
Yeah.
rebuildable, Carrie. See, we don't need doctors and healthcare plans. We just need each other once a month.
That's right. That's right. I know I'm not getting enough protein. I know that I'm not getting enough protein.
I haven't seen anything scientifically, and Anne is saying too that lack of nutrients. We sometimes we eat all we want, but the more there's a doctor I follow through Life Pro. Her name is Dr. Terry Walls, and she's another example. She has very progressive MS, and that woman was in a wheelchair 5 years ago and just is rocking it on a bike and living. And she's completely. What I'm learning from her is our body, like a raw carrot or a piece of bread, our body, there's a lot of times it can't actually break it down to a digestible level. And I'm not saying we should put everything into a blender, but the majority back in the day when our grandparents and our great grandparents stored food, they canned it, they fermented it, they did things that kind of helped our body in the pre-digestion process. And what I'm learning is, like raw carrots, raw vegetables, I think we're getting the best nutrients because we're not cooking them, but is our body able to break it down to and the example in this course I was looking at the other night is, okay, so you have your steak and you have your vegetables and you eat all this shit. Well, it takes X amount of time for your body to break that piece of steak down if you haven't chewed it down to a degree. But the vegetables or the cookie you had for dessert have already digested, and your tummy's going, well, there's something digested and ready to go. So it goes through, but the steak and all the shit that's undigested also goes through. And this is where the IBS, and it's just fascinating how much the poop can tell you. But a lot of it, what I'm finding with many of you in this community, and I don't think there's a lot of study, MS and some of the other conditions out there study this, but I think there's a general lack of nutrient uptake with all of these conditions. And I think, I don't know how it intertwines with the immune and the lymphatic system, but you know, our immune system is that, or our lymphatic system is that carrier of waste. And I think some of what it's carrying out is these nutrients because we're just not processing it properly. So that was an awesome thing to bring up. And I think sometimes by breaking it down into a drinkable or a pudding form, it just aids in the digestion. So your body's, uptaking more of those nutrients. So, I love a piece of steak, and I love my asparagus, and I love my crunchy broccoli and all that stuff. But I am finding, even though it's good food, the less I cook it, and I thought it was I'm getting older thing, but I have the upset tummy at night. I have the gas. I have, and it's not because I'm eating, okay, I had a lot of sauerkraut on the weekend or whatever I blame it on, but it's, I'm bad for not chewing because I have no teeth anymore. They've all fallen out. But yeah, so I think Blaze brought up a really good point. Keto is a really good one. There's other versions out there. But maybe it's just a different way of intaking those nutrients, especially if you've got a tumor that's pushing on your tummy and makes you feel full. I think it'd be easier to suck back a shake and trick, or something drinkable and trick your body than by the time you get down to a physical meal, like you're just done. There's nothing. It's like trying to drink a beer when you've just had pizza. You're too full. I can't drink a beer after I've eaten food. I don't like beer. So what else here? Kim, yes, they did have something at Kudu. I don't think it's out yet, but the FDRS is supposed to be coming out on YouTube, all the sessions. And yeah, to Kim's point, there was a big chat about keto on that, Carrie. So you'll be able to check that out. Dr. Herbst is licensed and she is offering consults. So if you did want to go that route, or anyone wanted to, you can absolutely book with her for a diagnosis, but I think it's $500 for a virtual consult. So
it's more expensive than that.
Okay. So this is the part where, okay, yes, so you get the diagnosis, but then can you afford the massage gun and the vibration plate? So, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot of good information. I've done an interview with her where she talked a little bit about information. I think she's a fabulous woman. But I think what's more important for you isn't, for many of you, the diagnosis is important, but I think you need a partner in your medical world that is with you. And Dr. Karen's great, but you're not going to get to see her once a month. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you need someone that's involved, that's part of your team and more involved. And if that's people here within the group or within the community, great. Just make sure you have a posse. Okay. And again, more of these doctors are becoming awake every day, but I think the core team, the FDRS team, they're very busy with their own local patients. I know many of them do offer virtual consults, but it can be pricey. And I know many insurance companies just aren't covering it. So last I heard it was $500 US. It could be more. Totally just something I wanted to mention for Ann and Carrie. But I don't care if you have a diagnosis. I know what your lumps and bumps are.
Yeah, I've actually have seen Karen since 2009.
That's right.
And the only, unless there are some people who don't want to take take pills, the only upside of seeing her, and I do love her, she's done a lot for our community, is she was able to prescribe Adderall, and she at a point she said that was really helping the Dercum's tumors slow. And I saw that. I saw that once I went on it, I was better than I've been in years. But she warned me not to miss a single dose. And sometimes our brains just don't work. And I started missing doses, and it never really did work again. That would be my the only upside of seeing her, is she actually will talk to your doctor and say, give them this, try this.
If you're in the US, I will stress as well.
Yeah. If you're in the US.
Cool.
My refused to give me anything she recommended when I got diagnosed by her. I have MCAS, I have HEADS and Dercums and fibro. And my doctor, when I got back home to Canada, pretty much said, yeah, well, that's over there. So, and I'm like you, if you're one that doesn't take pharma, because I have MCAS and I'm chemically sensitive to almost every drug out there. So my only drugs that I take now are medical marijuana, and I have a tramadol in case I go into verberation mode and I can't manage. But my food, my therapies are my medicine now. Not
You know
pills.
what? I was not getting one new tumor when I was using THC back when I was young. Not one. And I ate terrible back then, but I was doing that, and I was doing sweats with the Native Americans. That's all I was doing. I was eating terrible. I was stressed out. I just want to, I'm not a doctor. I'm just giving you my testimony. I'm not trying to, prescribe or anything.
I appreciate you sharing it. And I think THC, it was taboo for it's legal here in Canada. You can walk into a store and buy whatever you want. But
oh, wow.
Sometimes that's complicated because there's all these new strains, and you really got to know what
works.
What?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of it recreationally as well. But you know what? There's something in our body called cannabinoid.
Exactly.
And they're there for a reason. And prohibition took away the liquor and the weed, but the liquor came back because, it causes conditions that can further be profited from, like liver disease. And I won't be that conspiracy woman today, but, conspiracies are no longer theories in many cases. So I think THC, CBD, there's not only for this community for pain, but I'm seeing all kinds of amazing research. I have a brother-in-law that's dealing with severe glaucoma, and just went and got him some at the health food store the other day. And I'm like, it's CBD oil. Well, what will the other farmers think? Oh my God, you drink a 2-6 every Friday, Jesus. So there is a stigma around some of these, and sometimes that stigma extends to your doctor. So if there's lots of those good groups out there too, but yes, our bodies are hardwired for this plant, and it's not just a recreational thing. Do you realize the first Ford Model T car was built out of hemp fiber? A lot of people don't realize that. Do you realize 1 acre of hemp can make as much paper as 500 acres of forest? So there's other reasons the THC CBD thing, it's not as profitable. It's
right
versus big pharma. So it's not as profitable as fuel, which they would lead us to believe comes from dinosaurs that died in the earth, but don't even get me started. We're in a very crazy world. I'll tell you how crazy the world is in Canada. This is the year that they ban plastic straws. I'm very upset about this. And yet my coffee cream with milk now comes with a screw top plastic lid that I find hard to open. What is that about? There's 10 straws in that one bloody lid, but you're taking my straws away? And if you think the medical system is any more logical, okay. I've rambled enough. I love our Dercum's Diaries. They're very intimate. And I look forward to Kim's gonna do the keto thing next month. So I think what I'll do, Blaze, I'll look into the keto chow thing as well. But Kim's gonna talk about her book, her Dr. Harper. He's been a big part of her life, and I know some others are also looking at his book. But again, it's just her way. That's her recipe for success. And going forward with these Dercum Diaries, what we're probably going to start doing after I beat Kim up with all her topics is I'd like to invite others that do have Dercums that are having success with their self-care, to have a chat with Kim and just have some Dercums chats. I really think There's a lot of stigmas within our own community. One of the big ones that Kim and I are going to tackle together is this mentality that we can't lose weight because we have these conditions. I call bullshit. I don't think in some cases we can lose the lipedema fat. I don't think we can always lose the lipomas. But if there's obesity fat, which is sometimes it just comes with having these conditions and the depression and everything else, I absolutely think that there can be success there. So, you know, even if you have a good care provider, don't let them tell you that you can't. As I said earlier, science is never settled. And I just love being proved wrong. So let's keep at this, and we'll have a chat next month. Carrie, you're going to check in with me tonight. So is Julene. Does anyone else need me to check in on them tonight, or you're not going to do anything reckless without checking with me first? But
no, I will make sure I check with you first.
Most of you are seasoned veterans here. So for those of you that are newbies, you know what? Everybody does it wrong the first time. Like everybody does it wrong the first time because we're excited and this thing showed up and we're going to rip it out of the box and we're not going to pay attention to the instruction manual. And then when something goes wrong, we decide, oh shit, I better figure out what I did or I didn't do. So, you know, that's just human nature. That doesn't mean you have lipedema brain or Dercum's brain. But you know what? At least you guys have excuses now for the general public. So look at it that way. There's always a plus, right? All right. Well, thank you, Kim, for being Vanna on camera yet again. I hope if anything, you leave feeling a little bit more uplifted. Keep your vibration high. The power of the mind is the biggest tool you guys have. So if you're dipping and you need to pick me up, you know where to come. Okay. Let me see. Thank you, Kim and Deb. Even Mayo does not know what to do with us. Did you hear the Mayo Clinic is no longer called the Mayo Clinic?
Oh, no.
No.
But it's called
something like the Rothschild clinics or the something like that. I know me and Ann are going to have a hell of a chat off camera. Don't even get me started. It's not the Rothschilds, but it's the Bloomberg clinics. That's what it is. The Bloomberg chain of clinics. So don't tell me it's not about the, you know what? This whole video is going to be taken down just because I said the Rothschild name. I can see it now. I got flagged this morning and I'm very careful about this because I am very much an advocate in many things besides lipedema. I'll tell you about my lawsuits another time. But I did a post last week about the ripeness of watermelons. And I didn't know that looking at the ribs on a watermelon, there's a difference between a male and a female and which one's going to be, and it was really cool. My sister's really good at picking those. So I sent it and I tagged her and said, hi, you were right. Facebook took it down this morning because the fact checkers said that I was spreading false information again. So
what on earth?
Right?
Wow.
So, good for you, fact checkers. I'm glad you're making your buck today. Are you kidding me? On a watermelon ripeness post? It's just, but it's me. So I've spent a lot of time cleaning out my profile because in Canada, many of the things that I discuss openly are now a criminal offense and could land me in jail. So Canada, yes, as of this morning, if I decide to go downtown and hold a sign in protest, I can be locked up as a terrorist, and my family does not need to be contacted. It's getting pretty serious, guys. Pay attention. Yep. Pharma rules the world. So, but I go anyways. But yes, no, I have actually been in lawsuits against the Canadian government for other toxins that they put into our skies that are affecting your bodies as well. So 5 years of my life. But anyways.
Hey, Deb, we'll have to talk, you and I, about where and when my first one showed up. Really? Personally. Yeah, because I don't want to get you banned.
About that. And, you know, maybe we'll have to hit, I think I should put 2 hours on the call next month because we always have lots of sharing to do. And we're getting bigger every time. I think the first one we had 3 or 4 folks show up. So I thank you guys for listening to me ramble as long as I do. You know, as I'm thinking about it, most of the food pages are lipedema. So we need to find some more food, Dercum specific food pages. Because I don't want you guys getting lost in the lipedema world either. But again, there's so much overlap.
They're related though. Dr. Herbst says, that's not my opinion. She says lipedema and lymphedema, lipedema, lymphedema, and Dercum's are she calls them sister diseases.
A lot of overlap. And I think
Yeah.
some of the misdiagnosis even comes within our own community. You know, some of the doctors assume it's lipedema because they actually know about it, but don't always see the made lungs or I met a lady at FDRS that had Dercum's, made lung, lipedema, lymphedema. And I mean, she's walking around a size 6, looks like a supermodel, but she went through years of hell to get to figure out what her recipe was too. So it's always that journey of, you know, once you get to the point where Kim is and Blaze is, even to a degree, and you know what works for you, you know, it's a better road, but it's the figuring out what works for you that sometimes is a little bit painful and, you know, takes a bit of patience, I guess, if you will.
We all have such different conditions on top of our fat disorders. And yes, I am that person that calls my Dercum's a fat disorder. Yes, okay, connective tissue disorder. We have a fat disorder. It's simple as that for me. And I'm not offended by someone saying I have a fat disorder. So sorry, but I'll just continue to call it. I mean, my groups and my public platforms are all Dercum's disease and other fat disorders in Canada. So I think that you should all just do what works for you. I'm doing what works for me, and I found a way through. That's what it's all about, all this stuff, all these Dercum's diaries. I am going to do what works for me, and you're going to do what works for you, because you have a different comorbidity set of things and symptoms and problems than I have. Now, some of the things I do will probably agitate your conditions. So we all have these differences, like Cushing's disease. I know a fella with Dercum's disease who has Cushing's disease too. Like, these things just pile up on the back of us, just pile. Like I sometimes refer to myself, it's time to take me out back, you know, like they do in the farms. It's time to go out back. But you know what? 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't know if I was going to make it. I almost committed suicide with the pain and problems that I couldn't get help from the doctors in Canada. Well, you have to dig really deep. Somehow I made it through. And all of these little steps, they take forever to get done, but they get done if you want to get them done. So persevere, push through, but be gentle. Do what's best for your body at the moment. Right now, I'm feeling not too bad, but now I got to go cook. So after I cook and do all that, yeah, I'm going to be in the chair. But we have to do what works for each of us individually. Try to remember, we're not just a big wad of people that do the same things to fix everything. We do everything differently individually.
And even regular people, you know, I mean,
yes,
if there was one workout that made everybody a size 6 out there, we wouldn't need personal trainers. You know what I mean? I always say, well, when we go to the gym, and, you know, I use this in my seniors group. So we want to build bone density. Okay. So if you hired 5 different personal trainers at the gym to build you a bone density program, you're going to get 5 completely different programs of how to get from point A to B based on what they have experience in. And, you know, I happen to think vibration machines are the best, but it's not the only way to build bone density, you know, but you know, there's this world of ego and entitlement, and ultimately funding drives the world. So a lot of times, you know, in Canada, we do have free healthcare, but you have to take the care that they say, you know, maybe the care isn't the way I want to go.
it's
so
dictated. Yes.
A recent example I always share here on my calls last month is hyperbaric chambers. Hyperbaric chambers are a huge benefit for many of my clients. And with current times, especially if you believe in current things. I have a client of mine. She's a practitioner, vibe lady. She's got 2 hyperbaric chambers. Alberta Health seized them last summer because they've been banned in Canada for 5 years now. Why? Because they're alternative. $75,000 of her own money seized. and we are living in a free democracy. Okay, I'm going to get off on a tangent if I don't shut my mouth here pretty quick on that, but that's why I'm here. I'm still here, so while I'm still here, let's take advantage of it. You guys,
Thank you
I
very
won't
much,
complain.
Cindy.
don't work too hard, and we will get up some notice on the next one, but it'll be the first Tuesday of every month. And next month, we're going to talk bio diet with Kim and Dr. Harper's book.
Thank you,
Thank
Debbie.
you so much, ladies.
You guys
Thanks for coming, everybody.
check in, Carrie and Julene. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later, Blaze. Take care, honey. Nice to see you.
Bye.